honestly, like, I hadn't been until a couple of weeks ago. If somebody's hearing about Nite Hawkes Café for the first time, located just south of 16th and Fort.
Right.
Yeah.
Good space to find. I mean, you can punch anything into your GPS these days, but people always want to know the address of places. So there it is.
When they type in NITE, we're usually the second one under Night Owl.
Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and there are some restaurants that you just go into and you just like have this feeling that you belong. And that I want to highlight one of those restaurants today because I visited for the first time probably, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and I just went by myself for a little breakfast, lunch type of deal, and no one in the restaurant knew me at all, knew who I was, and it was almost packed. And yet somehow I felt like a part of that community. I can't even describe like what that feeling is like, but like everyone else knew each other and somehow I felt connected to them in that way. And I was like, this restaurant has been around since 1942. There's history just like seeping out of the walls. I want to know all about it. And so now I've got some of the owners on the podcast today, Tracy and Dan Hawkes. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Good to be here.
Yeah,
so
to be here.
The first thing that I want to ask you about is I want to ask you about that feeling, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's told you guys about that or expressed that. What is it about Nite Hawkes Café that gives people kind of that sense of community, even if they're not like not that they're not experiencing. What gives people that sense? I'm just going to stop talking.
It's hard to pinpoint, honestly. It starts with love. I think that's how it starts. It starts with the love of the community and love of the staff and love of the customers, and then from there it's getting to know your regulars and then treating everybody like they're a regular, and then it just turned into its own little community, like brick by brick. It just keeps
for generations.
Yeah.
It started with his great grandfather, Dan Hawkes.
Yeah. I'm the fourth
you're
generation.
The fourth generation, Dan.
Yeah. And the feeling has gone all the way through. His grandfather used to seat strangers with each other at the tables because it was so packed.
Really?
That's how they got to know each other.
It was standing room. And how busy it was back then.
And it was really interesting how you would have a table of undercover detectives over here and Hell's Angels over here, and they all get to know each other. They all got along. It was great.
Yep.
And the feeling just continued.
Wow. and I think a lot of that stems from you guys and the fact that there is so much family not only working in the restaurant, but it's just so, your family is deeply rooted in that in that building and in that concept. I mean, we're talking 4 generations now. How closely intertwined are the restaurant and you guys' family, the Hawkes family?
Pretty much Danny and I are the only two doing it right now.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. All the rest of them are just staff, but they are like family to us.
It's cliche, but it's family. You know, it's like we spend just as much time with them as we do with our regular family.
Yeah, Danny has a bowling team with them.
Exactly, yeah. So that's like I said, it's real love. It's familial love. Like, we might not like each other all the time,
Oh, we have our fights.
We have our fights, but it's...
But that's family, too.
That's exactly, yeah.
I know my family doesn't like me a lot of the time. They fight with me, but...
One of the cooks and I will get in a yelling match outside, and then we come in and hug each other and say sorry.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah. So.
Okay, so just in case somebody's hearing about, I mean, it's been around forever, but honestly, like, I hadn't been until a couple of weeks ago. If somebody's hearing about Nite Hawkes Café for the first time, located just south of 16th and Fort.
Right.
Yeah.
Good space to find them in. You can punch anything into your GPS these days, but people always want to know the address of places. So there it is.
When they type in NITE, we're usually the second one under Night Owl. So
there you go.
Yeah, if you've ever been to Night Owl, I really like them too. Like that's a spot.
Love Night Owl.
That place is a spot.
Katie and Noah Mock are tremendous people. But we're not here to talk about
right
now. We're here to talk about you guys. Yeah. And something that I find so fascinating is you look at that area of town that you guys are in, and so much of it has changed over the years, and not necessarily for the better. A lot of it has gotten, kind of run down, and a lot of businesses have closed.
Yep.
But not Nite Hawkes. You guys have kept going, and I mean,
stayed strong.
You can visit on a Thursday morning, and that place will be packed, like I saw. What is it about Nite Hawkes that, as the rest of kind of the area around you has changed, you guys have just been able to create this consistent thing that just keeps chugging along?
We have generations of neighbors that have come in. 3 and 4 generations of people that come in, and their grandfather brought them in. They remember it as a child. They come in as an adult, and it has just been sustainable. Our employees also are 2 and 3 generations. I can name you 2 or 3 different that work for us.
Really?
3 generations, right? Oops. 3 generations of employees where you had them back in the 70s, and their children worked, and their children worked, and it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unheard of.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you create that sense of community where somebody's saying, hey, not only am I going to, work here, but my kid's going to work here, my
You treat them right.
grandkid's going to work here.
You treat them right.
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
Listen to their problems.
Respect.
Be supportive.
Respect goes both ways. It's treat them like family. And I hate going back to that stupid cliche. It sounds stupid rolling off my tongue, but it's mutual respect back and forth. That's how I treat all my respect. From employees to customers, I just treat everybody with respect, and it goes a long ways.
I'm kind of a social butterfly.
Yeah, I'm not so much.
I go out and I chit chat with everybody. I know a lot of them, so I'll go out and I'll talk, and then this one over here is listening to the conversation, and then we bring them in, and that's how it goes.
Come as strangers, leave as friends.
Yeah,
that kind
I
of
have
stuff.
that on my counter.
Yeah.
Enter as strangers, leave as friends.
Yeah.
And if they're regulars and I don't know their name yet, I'll go right up to them. Okay, you've been coming in a lot, and I need to know your name now.
Yeah.
You've passed the name barrier.
Oh,
you
yeah.
no longer get to be an anonymous diner.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
I feel really bad when somebody knows my name and I don't know theirs. I'm like,
I'll know faces and I'll know names. And
yeah, I know everything about your story, but forget your name. It's like, oh my
Yes.
God. Yeah.
So what you just said makes me think of a quote that I found in my research. You there was a news station, I forget which one, I apologize, that did a story on you guys in 2016. So it's going back a little bit.
It's the World Herald, probably.
But I think this still applies. Well, it was a video story because you, Tracy, said you looked around the restaurant and you said, I think I know 95% of the people that are sitting. Yep. You know it. You said 95% of the people here right now. Yep. We're like a family, and family always comes home. I mean, it's one thing to treat your employees like family, and you're spending all this time with them, and you're listening to their problems, and you're hearing them and everything. That makes sense. But for just random diners to come in and feel that family, how does that happen? How does that work?
We're just blessed.
Residual effect. I don't know.
Just blessed. Good people.
It just trickles down from the top?
I think so.
I think.
I don't know. I've tried to put my finger on it, and I've thought about this way before there's even this interview, and I just hope to keep it going. It's just you kind of show up in a good mood, keep everybody else in a good mood, and the synergy brings it together. I don't know what the glue is, but something keeps it going.
We're just blessed.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you're doing because it's working.
Yeah, it's working.
Speaking of it's working, I mean, we see, when you talk about restaurants that have been around for generations, tastes and preferences change from generation to generation.
Yeah.
People change. Like what Gen Z and I don't even know what the younger generation is, but I mean, what they prefer and what they love is so much different from even me as a millennial.
Yeah. And
yet you guys have, and we've seen this effect, like classic Omaha restaurants have closed because dining tastes just change, and that's the natural evolution of things. But you guys have been able to weather that, and it doesn't. I go in your restaurant, it doesn't look like you're not offering a bunch of like crazy Instagrammable dishes or anything, but still I see kids in there and everything. What is it about Nite Hawkes that allows it to bridge that generational gap?
It's a roller coaster ride, so just know that.
Okay.
I mean, you have your peaks, you have your downs, and you've got to swim through it all. But the generational gap. It's just the friends and everyone coming in. Help me out.
Everybody likes bacon and eggs.
That is a classic.
It's breakfast food, man. It's everyone likes that. If you put out good classics, people are going to come in and eat it. But I think the food is what keeps people together. It is the glue that keeps people coming in. But the atmosphere is why is the real reason they're coming in. So it's the familial aspect, and they get to eat too.
If you got great food and great conversation,
exactly.
that's a plus.
Yeah, I'm definitely not putting our food down, but there's nothing fancy to what we do.
But
it's really good.
Diner food.
Yeah.
Diner food. And I mean, how many diners are really left? Old school diners. There's not a lot. There's a handful of us.
Yeah.
Handful of us.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys about that. Obviously, this is a food podcast, so we're going to talk about food. But especially, I mean, when you're making kind of more out there, modern, Instagrammable, dishes and everything, and fusion, all kinds of stuff, you can not hide behind ingredients, but it's easier to incorporate a bunch of flavors and textures where someone, might enjoy a meal, even if it's not cooked perfectly. When you're just putting out biscuits and gravy or bacon, I mean, especially bacon and eggs. If you screw up egg cookery, there's nothing to hide behind.
Nope.
You're going to know if that egg is cooked poorly or not.
And we hear it. Yep.
Well, and we'll recook it with no problem. We're not perfect. We will redo it. I said, send it back.
I know you guys aren't perfect because no restaurant is perfect, but unlike, some other restaurants, you don't have anything to hide behind. How do you level up your cooks and on the line to get it to that level?
Because Danny and I cook.
You guys
Danny and I are the
do
cooks.
what percent of the cooking?
The weekends, I'm the one who expos.
Danny's always there.
And she just had knee surgery, so she hasn't been around much. But we got, 5 line cooks?
At one time, we will do that, yes.
On the weekends, we got 5 line cooks.
A lot of prepping ahead before we even open. But Danny and I do... 75.
I mean,
you were 100% on the weekend. And when I was in my prime, right now I'm still recovering from knee, I was doing probably 75%. He and I side by side. And let me tell you, that's not always easy.
Yeah, I don't like managing from in front of the grill. So I like having my employees being as good or better than me. I hope that's at least my goal. If I have to jump in, I'm going to. Obviously, I'm going to go where I'm needed. But I don't like having to manage the entire store from in front of the grill. It's just not my style.
And so usually I'll send him out and I'll stay behind the grill and take care of it. But I've been flipping eggs for 33 years, so I lost count how many. But I have flipped 7 beautiful eggs. One day I'll show you a picture of that one.
Wait, 7 beautiful eggs
all at once.
Yeah, 7 eggs at once. Yeah, in one pan. It's actually pretty impressive.
What dish was this?
Somebody wanted 7 eggs.
Someone wanted 7 eggs.
Yeah,
that dude got his protein.
He did. Yeah.
Oh, it turned out
I think he
nice.
ordered 2 sides of bacon with it too. I think is what it was.
I don't remember.
Goodness gracious, good for him. What's the hardest egg preparation to cook?
Poached.
Poached can be. It depends on if you got the touch or not. But
I've been doing it
poached
too many
eggs.
years.
Poached eggs is probably the hardest,
because when you pop an egg in that water, sometimes
you just have to start. You have to start completely over if you.
If it doesn't come out right, you're going to start over, and then that's a lot of time. So I would say poached.
Yeah.
The easiest is scrambled. You break an egg, you scramble that bad boy up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're kind of talking about trying to bridge this generational gap, and so many modern breakfast restaurants, they're doing crazy things. They're doing cinnamon roll pancakes, or I looked up some other examples. Nutella stuffed pancakes, BLT crepes, brunch lasagna. I mean, there's and I like those places. I have nothing wrong with them, but that's very much not you guys, and I don't think that ever will be. To you, what is? I mean, obviously, there's the history of what you've done in the past, but what is the value in just saying, that's great, what you guys are doing over there. We're not going to do that. We're going to stick to the classics, the basics, and just cook them extremely well.
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And we try and make it as best as we can with what we do. And then we'll throw different things in. It won't be on the menu, but Danny came up with a rodeo hawk where... describe it.
Oh, it's really good. It's my favorite.
What is it?
It's my favorite.
It's not on the menu.
We're also open Tuesday through Friday, and we have lunch specials every day. And sometimes we get bored and just start creating some new lunch items for ourselves to make. And we have this thing called a Lil Hawk, which is a burger, right? It's a cheeseburger with grilled onions on top, Thousand Island
Can't tell you how we got the recipe.
pickles and on top of a grilled bun. And so I was like, well, an onion ring sounds great, and I like barbecue sauce and tomatoes, so I just put all that on top of it and called it a rodeo hawk. And
ta-da!
Oh my God, it's the best burger I've ever made. So,
and then we get some of the younger kids who work for us who start experimenting, and like, what did Willie put together? That was something.
The Big Willie burger. Yeah. We're getting it's an organic kind of secret menu coming along here.
Yeah.
So it's like you can order these whenever you want.
And the
They're
regulars
just not on the
will,
menu.
because they'll see it on special one week and go, I had that last week. Can I have that again?
Or they see it on our Facebook posts and they're like, can I still get this? You know,
Yes.
they did that with the country burrito and all that too. So it's organic, really.
But our menu is simple. But we'll throw something crazy out there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys probably have 25 to 30 things on the menu, and that's breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast and lunch, yeah.
It's not a super big menu.
And it's all day too. Like we don't stop.
Breakfast
serving.
is all day.
Yeah. But people can come in and customize.
Yeah, and I'll special, for lunches, we'll put like roast pork and dressing or roast turkey or hot beef sandwiches or things like that. So we'll always throw something different in there for lunch on the weekdays. But weekends is only breakfast and burgers, because you don't want to throw too many crazy things in there and then you're just all over the place.
Yeah, you don't want to be making omelets and spaghetti at the same time.
No.
Like that's
not going
that's a lot. It's a lot going on with that. But yeah, it's. Weekends is breakfast all day, and the weekdays is breakfast and lunch.
I'd say 75% of our business is breakfast.
Yes, and we'll talk more about that. But what you guys are saying right now, I think, plays into why it kind of plays into that familial atmosphere. Because if you're at home and you say, I want to have a burger, but I want to put barbecue sauce and Thousand Island on it, like... Some places will do that for you, but some won't, or some will say, "Oh, if you say, oh, you had that special last week, I'd love to try that." Place will say, "Well, I'm sorry, we don't have those ingredients, or we can't do that again." Mm-hmm. But if you guys are saying, "Yeah, sure," A, that makes me feel great because I'm getting what I want, but B, it makes me feel like I'm an insider. Hey, exactly. This is kind of cool. These are my friends that are cooking up something cool for me. So I think you guys have hit on something really interesting there.
Yeah.
How much of the menus and recipes changed over the years versus just staying the same?
Okay.
Surprisingly, we got one burger that's been on there since we opened.
Yeah.
80 years ago.
It's his great-grandfather that started it. It's the Dan Special.
Yeah.
I ask you about the Dan Special.
Yep, my great-grandpa started that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is a grilled cheese sandwich with tomatoes in the middle and a burger and ruby red French dressing. And let me tell you, I'm telling you the ingredients because I dare you to try and make it at home and make it taste the same. You cannot. I cannot. There's something about making it there that makes it right. Because I've tried it at home. I can't make it the same. It's something about the flat top. Yeah. But it's been on the menu for 83 years. 83 years now.
I imagine that flat top has a little bit of seasoning after 83 years, too.
It's not the same.
Well, I've replaced that grill twice.
Okay, fair enough.
But it gets a lot of cooking.
Yeah.
Still the original steam table, though, I think.
Yeah, a lot of since I've been there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff.
A lot of old equipment in there, like a lot of
chicken
history.
broaster for our fried chicken, which is extremely popular.
The bar stools are still original too.
The counter came from the original building.
Seriously, the bar stools are original?
I think so.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
I think so. That I don't know, Dan, about the bar stool, but the counter is.
Well, Dad always told me that the bar stools were original, so I'm taking his word for it.
Just say it with confidence.
Yeah.
I can't dispute it, so just say it and I'll believe you.
I thought it was because I thought they took it from the original building. And
I know the
brought it
countertop was.
Okay, maybe
that
that's
one I know
what I'm
for
thinking
sure.
Then. Okay.
Yeah. The historian, she lives in Florida. She, her father, Lucy, her father was the one that started Nite Hawkes. And then there was 4 siblings, 2 girls, 2 boys, and all of them are alive except Danny's grandpa, Dan. He passed away. And then it went from the original Dan down to his grandpa Dan, down to his dad Dan, and me. And then we are in the process of going with him now. So it's hard to say which Dan. I'm sorry. It gets confusing.
It's perfectly fine.
It gets a little confusing.
I love a good Dan. Honestly. And I didn't even I didn't notice it before, but like Dan Hawk and Dan Hop.
Close.
Hop in. Yeah. Not that far off. You guys got a good name thing going on. Speaking of specials that are on the menu, we also have the Tracy special, which is a grilled Swiss cheese sandwich with a hamburger, sautéed mushrooms and onions inside, and mayo on top.
Mayo in it, yes.
What made this your go-to, and how did it get on? You don't seem proud of it.
Well, I made it, and years ago when I first started, and I saw the Dan special. I said, I want my name in lights. So I made it, and then I got embarrassed, because I feel like a social butterfly sometimes, but sometimes I'm a wallflower, so I like to blend in. And I thought, I'm taking that off the menu. I don't like my name up in lights anymore. They wouldn't let me. We had to keep it. So yeah, that's how that came around.
Okay. One thing, so I came in and I got pancakes, and I thought they were very good. I got eggs that were cooked beautifully, but after I made my posts on social media and everybody let me have it for this place has been around forever, why haven't you been there?
Yeah.
Everybody kept saying, you got to get the biscuits and gravy. You got to get the biscuits and gravy. You got to get the biscuits and gravy. I cannot tell you how many people told me that.
Yeah.
What two-part question. What makes great biscuits and gravy? And then what makes your biscuits and gravy so special that everyone just
we can't answer
swears by them?
Can't answer that. That's ancient Chinese secret.
Secret recipe. It's actually super easy. It's surprisingly simple, but
somehow we got voted best in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And I'm going, wow.
But most people, I think most people just don't do it right. We
either too thick or too thin, or not enough meat in it. And it's a good ratio.
You gotta have it right. And you gotta know how to make it, but you got to give them good portions too, and people, and we have different variations of the biscuit and gravy too. We have stackers, and we put sausage gravy on our scramblers, and we put sausage gravy over our. You can
anything you want.
Anything you want, really. I mean, but you can put it on the country burritos too. We can give you a little side of it to dip into. It's our staple. People, we sell 6 tubs a weekend day, something crazy. We go through a lot of biscuit gravy.
I mean, how much is a tub? How much?
A whole pack. It's a whole.
It's a couple gallons. We go through gallons.
So we're talking
a day.
You guys are selling a bathtub of gravy.
Sometimes it feels like it.
Oh,
yeah.
Honestly,
it's
a
really
half
good.
a bathtub.
It's really good.
Maybe a fourth of a bathtub of gravy.
They do like it. It's
a lot.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to sound like a crazy question, but I had the guys from Hurrdat's Coffee House on a couple weeks ago, and they said that they had a customer who would come in and just order the gravy in a bowl and just eat it as soup. Do you guys ever have that?
Well, sometimes they get they get a side of gravy and then they get toast with it and
dip
their toast in it.
Yep. All the time.
That feels slightly less psychotic. I can get behind that.
People get spoons and they eat the rest of the gravy off the plate and stuff. Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
People are.
You haven't had that. You got to come in and try that.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, there's a lot of things I need to come back in. Apparently, I don't even know about half of them because they're not on the menu.
Right.
I just need to come in and say, give me everything that's not on this sheet of paper. I find it fascinating. You guys, so we talked about you're open for lunch, you're open for breakfast, not for dinner.
No.
Except one day of the year. And that's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
True.
What's
this will be coming out right around then, right?
Yes.
So there we go. We can promote Valentine's
Yes,
Day.
promote Valentine's Day. Tell me about the Love Nest menu. Where, what was the thinking
How'd
behind
you hear
this?
about
Where
that?
did it come
You've been
from?
on our Facebook post.
You've
been doing some research.
And you guys post on Facebook a lot, so I had to go. I have to go back quite a bit, but it was worth it because I found this, and I want to ask you about it now.
Cool.
Well, let's see. It was a Valentine's Day. God.
9 years ago now? 10 years ago?
Well, we had to give up because of COVID one year.
Oh, yeah, COVID year.
And then there was another year where I just had too many surgeries and we couldn't do it. So there was twice we couldn't do it. But we just started. We just thought,
it'd be nice.
It'd be nice. And we have lots of regular customers. And we thought,
they eat all of our
like
meals
to come in? Should we do it? And they go, yeah, let's do that. And so we made reservations. And I don't know if you remember, but we have a little back room. That seats 40 or 50 people back there, and we dolled it up, and we put tablecloths and candles and flowers, and we made it all beautiful, and Danny and another little server was the server, and me and a couple 3 cooks were doing it, and we got overwhelmed, and we went,
oh my God, it was crazy.
Oh my God, and I'm sweating trying to get all this food out, and then Danny says, you got to come out of the kitchen, come out in the dining room right now. I go, why? No, Danny, I got food. He goes, you got to. So he pulls me by the arm and puts me out in that dining room, and everybody goes,
everyone gives it a standing ovation,
I
basically.
almost cried.
Yeah. It was cool.
I almost cried, and it did turn out very beautiful.
Yeah.
And we just
Everybody
went from
loved
there. And we just went from every year after
and
that.
every year we get better
and bigger.
It got easier and easier to do it too because we learn from our last year's mistakes, and
I've already had last week. They've started asking if we're doing it again.
Oh wow!
Last week they've already started.
We get full reservations for what 3 hours? We do 3 hours.
We do 4 to 7. 4 to 7.
4 to 7. Yeah, 4 to 7.
Yeah, and we stay pretty consistent all the way through.
Yeah, we have a. We haven't even planned the menu for it yet. I'll be honest with you.
We haven't looked at it. We're just breathing after New Year's right
exactly.
now.
But
it's time to start thinking about it. Yeah, I said, we're doing it. So.
Well, I imagine. Yes, I'm sure it's intense and it's really hard for you guys. But in terms of menu creation, I imagine it's also kind of fun because I know you've said we're doing specials, but for the most part, the menu stays the same. Mm-hmm. And the things that you offer for this dinner are completely
It's like fine dining now.
Yeah, completely different from what you normally offer.
They love it.
That creamy dill sauce and the salmon. Oh, they go nuts over that. I don't blame them. It's delicious.
We feel like fancy chefs for one night.
I mean, what is that like for you guys as a kitchen staff to
They're getting better.
I know you love your biscuits and gravy and
the
your
first couple of years,
burritos,
I'll tell you that. We did not like it. But
really?
I mean, it's just we're not what we're used to. Everyone's opposed to change, so get over the change hump and then all of a sudden you're like all the creative opportunities come up,
and they're having a lot of good time. And we still have the same cooks almost from when we very first started.
Yeah, our turnover's been low, so
been
like
very blessed.
Yeah, we've been very lucky.
So
greatest staff.
They're getting better and better and better at it. And boy, last year went so smooth. More efficient. Yeah, so smooth.
Yeah, that's number one thing we're most blessed of is our staff for sure. Most appreciative of.
Oh yeah, they're wonderful. And the fun thing about this is we take the staff, I'll hire them, a lot of the kids from the neighborhood. Yeah. And I'll start them in the kitchen, and they'll be dishwashers or whatever, and I'll see is there potential. Boom, guess what? You're my server now. You just got promoted. You're doing it great. As of course, I have to teach them, and they're young.
Usually.
Boy, do they pick up, and boy, do they do a great job. And I'm so proud of them. So proud of them.
So what's potential? How do you know when you see them?
If they're going to stand around and play on their phone, or if they're going to actually do something when they're bored.
If they take a liking to the team, like if they pull their own weight and learn how to help get done, like we all work together to get done, basically. And then once the day's over, you got your specific work to get done, but once you're done with yours, we usually help everybody else get done. So it's like we all get out of there as fast as possible. Yeah. Instead of just, oh, I'm done, I'm leaving. So this dishwasher over here, who's supposed to be taking care of the kitchen, you got that nice and sparkly, go help the waitress sweep the floor out in the dining room. And they will, and they do their job, and they all are very... Well, I kind of have some young ones right now. Yeah, we got some, got some issues to iron out. When you have young ones, it's kind of like herding cats. But, it's the potentials comes, and you can see the ones who are really going to make it, and it's like watching a flower blossom. Because you're the first employer for these kids. And my job I see as being the person that makes this employee awesome for the next employer. Because they're not going to work for me forever, and I know that.
Well, some of them might, from what you said.
Some of them do.
I truly don't want them to, though. No, I want us to be the stepping stone for their next job. Yeah. Especially some of these dishwashing jobs. I want to hire 13, 14-year-olds just to get your feet wet, or hands wet, I guess technically. But well just thank you, puns. Get their basically just to get their feet into the workforce. Hey, this is what a job is. This is what showing up on time looks like. This is, basic skills for when you're going to be, put off into the workforce when you're 18. And some of them stayed, and
some of them didn't make it.
Some of them don't make it. And it's
that's one of the hardest things to do is fire somebody. And
they usually work themselves out.
That.
Yeah.
Raising prices and firing people are the worst things in a restaurant business. I hate them both. But
they're both necessary.
Necessary evils.
It's part of the job.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of being proud, I mean, what has it been like for you, Tracy? I know, you're still in ownership and still very, very active in the business. But
I'm part-time right now.
Okay. but that's because of Dan.
Right, exactly.
To see your son step forward and kind of take on more of that ownership mantle and that leadership mantle, what has that been like for you?
It's wow. It is wow. The first couple of years he came in and helped me, I don't know that he wanted to make this a career, but now it's like, wow.
Yeah, I want to create an empire.
I'm very proud of what he turned into. He did a great job. And I feel very confident. Unfortunately, I've had some health problems and back surgeries, knee surgeries. And every time I go down, he steps in and he takes over and he puts in those 70, 80-hour work weeks and doesn't complain. And I'm going,
yeah,
wow, that's awesome.
It's a lifestyle you got to pick, you know.
When I say I'm part-time, I'm 40 hours right now, not 80.
Yeah, part-time for restaurant industry is...
It's a lifestyle.
Different than
it's
most,
its own
sure.
beast.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be in your blood, and if it's not, then don't even try it.
But you mentioned early, not that you didn't see that potential in Dan, but it wasn't, at least on the surface. Dan, was there a switch that flipped for you, or a realization that kind of came in that, hey, I do enjoy this? Or
you know, I it's weird. So I moved to Austin. What was that? 2019, 2020, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It was right before COVID, I think, and no, it was after COVID because either way, it was sometime between right when it started and right there. So, and then I realized, and I was working for you guys before because I got fired from Nebraska Furniture Mart. So let's just start from the get go. I started working at Nebraska Furniture Mart right after college, or right after I graduated college, and I worked there from till 2019, from 2015. So about 5 to 7 years, and from there I came to help Nite Hawkes out a little bit more because I think I got fired and you needed help, and basically just became the general manager there. And then from there I was like, well, I don't want to stay in Omaha anymore. I was kind of like in a finding myself kind of journey, you know. I'm like, I don't know what I even want to do. So I moved, sell my house, moved to Austin, had a good opportunity down there. Realized when I got down there that I was kind of the missing Jenga piece, to where if like the whole place was kind of wobbling when I went down there. At least that's what my dad said when he called me. And
I think Dad put a guilt trip on you.
He did. He did, for sure.
And I didn't think it helped that I cried when you left.
it is what it is, you know. It is what it is. Anyways, he called me, put the guilt trip on me. And at that point, I'd realized when I got there, it's like, well, the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's just greener where you water it, you know? So I'm like, I know one person here, and it was my roommate. I was like, I can just, because I was going to do my real estate business down there, and just because it was a boom town at the time, and I'm like, I can make a lot of money here and just build an empire down here, or I can just go build my empire back in Omaha and
where your roots
and where the roots are. I already know everybody. It's like, I was like, I'm just gonna cut my losses here and just go right on back.
He floundered a little bit in between there, as everybody does. I mean,
sure.
I didn't jump straight into the restaurant business. I had my own little thing going, and my husband Dan needed me. So
I had two shining examples of what happens when you put your heart and soul in. It's like I see their bodies breaking down. I'm like, I don't.
We
want
broke
that.
down,
and because she had just had back surgery, or you're about to have back surgery. I think it's the reason I came back.
22, I had it.
Yeah, so like she needed back surgery and stuff too, and so it was rough when I left. I'm like, well, you know. I looked at my driver's my driver's license, and it said the 4th, and I'm like, well, let's stop running from my destiny, kind of thing. So I just kind of cut my losses in Austin and came back.
Well, that's something that I wanted to ask you about. I mean, when you've got 3 generations in front of you have basically built this place up to what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I can't even imagine what that's like for you. Like, you kind of feel like there's a legacy, like there's a pressure, like there's got to be a part of you that's like, that's super cool. Like, I want to carry this on, but also part of it is just like, I want to create my own thing. And
But also he grew up in it, and I'm sure it burned him out. I mean,
I
was a little toddler running around.
I was burnt out in that, yeah, for sure.
By the time you were 14, 15 years old, you were probably burnt out, because I raised both my kids down there.
Yeah.
And my daughter never jumped into the restaurant, but she helped out. She was a waitress for a while, made some good money, got her through college. She's a nurse now. You know, she doesn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And we all floundered. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I married my husband, Dan, and next thing you know, I'm down there, and it's like, wow. And when I stopped whatever I was doing and came down to help him, I gave up health insurance.
Yeah.
I gave up everything. I mean, and I jumped into that, and it's like, I swam as hard as I could for as long as I could. And I said, by God, I'm going to make this work. I never worked so hard in all my life, but it was very rewarding.
Yeah.
Very rewarding.
What made you give everything else up? I don't know if you want to talk about what you were doing previously, but
I was a desk job, and it was good money, and it was health insurance was there, and everything was great, but my husband needed me, and there was at that time, let's see, 30. I started in 91.
Ago. Yeah.
91, I started down there. So, and I don't know. I just felt like the family tradition needed to keep going, and he needed me. He needed me. He was breaking down. He was 100% disabled in 09. So I had been doing it from 09 forward, and that's when Danny jumped in somewhere in
about 2019.
You were always around.
I was always around.
Always
yeah.
around.
Yeah.
But you really came full time with me back then. But that was hard, So I don't know why I just kept going. I was too stupid to stop. I don't know. It's in your blood after a while. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I could remember one night, so hot, like July. It was 11:30 at night. I'm on a ladder, Friday night, trying to clean the compressor coils of the walk-in, and the chemicals, I'm spraying it into the compressor chemicals to get them, and then it's all blowing back in my face at 11:30 at night. That's dedication.
Yeah.
Or stupidity, one of the two.
We'll go with dedication. I like that more.
One of the two.
But it's like, who are you going to call at 11:30 on a Friday night to come fix your walk-in?
Yeah.
So I had to make that thing work until I could get a repairman in. Yeah. I don't know why I do it. I guess it's in your blood. I guess you push. You don't know how to stop.
Have you ever taken a second to think about that and evaluate? Yeah,
he makes me.
Well, what is that self-contemplation like? Because I don't know. I know you seem like a very self-deprecating personality. You keep saying, "Oh, it's stupidity." I don't think it's stupidity. I think it's genuine care and passion.
For me, I don't know. I don't take too well to authority. I don't like. I can't have just a regular job. I've like I said or I mentioned earlier, I got fired from NFM because this is like. I don't like people telling me what to do, And,
so he really hated it when he came in with me.
Well, I can butt heads with my mom, a regular boss, I'll get fired in front. It's like I'll butt heads with a regular boss too, and if they have more power than you, well, they just kind of let you see the door. It is what it is. If I was them, I would have fired me too. I get it now. Now that I'm in management, I understand why they fired me, and it's like it is no bad blood, no nothing. So it's like, but. From what I look at as a owner, I'm not really the owner yet. I'm more of the manager kind of because I don't have any ownership stake yet. I haven't no money has been exchanged kind of thing, But what I look at it from a kind of a management standpoint though is I get to make the rules now, and the rules have to make sense because I now have to follow the rules that I made. Otherwise, nobody else is going to do it. So that's what I like the most about it.
That's always been a thing for me too. I will never ask anybody to do something I wouldn't do myself.
Yeah, and I don't.
And I will, and I do. Yeah. But now that I have broken down, I can't. But I still push this way too hard. Doctors scold me.
Yeah.
Way too hard. But yeah, I mean, I've been up on the roof. Changing filters. I do what I can. You do what you can.
Yeah.
You got to do what you have to do.
Especially, I mean, the margins in food is you got to save money where you can.
Yeah.
If you call a repairman for every little thing, it's like, all of a sudden it's a hobby instead of a business.
And over the years, you learn how to fix things, and you do it.
Yeah.
And if you can't, then you got to break down and call somebody. But I've learned a lot of things, and
helps knowing people.
Teaching him.
And I think that plays into, when you guys talk about creating that family atmosphere again with the employees. I hear this time and time again from restaurant owners when employees see you scrubbing tables out front, when they see you plunge in the toilet, when they see you fixing the walk-in on a Friday night when you should have been home 2 hours ago, and off your feet and everything.
Yeah.
That goes a long way because it's like, okay, that person isn't just bossing me around and tell me, okay, peon, go do this for me. They'll get on their knees and do it.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference, I would imagine.
Well, it's mutual. I'm there for them. They're there for me. We help each other. We make it work. And honestly, that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, take me back. You can go as deep as you want to or as shallow as you want to. But, I mean, we're talking 1942. We're talking 4 generations of Hawkes family here. Tell me some of the history of this place. Like, how did it get started?
Okay. His great-grandfather.
He's on
his great-grandfather's brother had the Douglas Street Cafe. Okay? And his great-grandfather would work in the basement as a bootlegger and crazy things. That's where Danny gets all the crazy blood. I'll tell you. I mean, it ran in the family. I saw
don't
it
like authority. I just don't like authority.
Apparently, your great grandfather didn't either.
We're all just people.
And so anyway, he started the cafe, and his son Dan, which would be Danny's grandpa, would help out and also worked for MUD. There was some kind of a cave-in, and your grandfather got buried alive with MUD.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And they had to get him out, and he
broke his whole right side, I guess.
His right side.
Yeah.
So now he was left-handed. But anyway, he kind of, at that point, was done with MUD and started helping his dad at the restaurant. His dad ended up, Alice. Let's start with that. Alice and Dan are the original owners. Alice died at 49 years old of cancer. And so great-grandpa's running it. My father-in-law comes in and helps him. Then the great-grandpa dies. So now my father-in-law has it, and he's running it and running it and running it, and really made it boom. Took down the old building, built the new building behind it. Let's back it up. He put the new building in first and then tore the other one down, and then had to add on the other side to it because the business just boomed. Well, back then you had direct access to downtown without any turns and craziness, and you also had hour lunches. You didn't have a Burger King on every corner. It was a much more.
It was a thriving industrial area.
Yes.
In the 70s.
Oh, definitely.
It was thriving. Yeah.
And so the business was crazy and great. So my father-in-law had that, and then he also opened Crown Hall and Catering. I don't know if you knew that in your research. Yes.
That one got by me.
There you go.
I've never even heard of Crown Hall and Catering.
Well, it's closed now. It was a Northwest Omaha catering place.
It's a church now.
Emmanuel Fellowship now? Is that what it's called?
Do you know Northwest High School?
Yeah.
Right across the street, that church. It used to be Crown Hall and Catering.
My father-in-law's Crown Hall and Catering, and he did monstrous parties and caterings all over.
Years worth of business.
Oh, he did great. But
booked
then
out, I mean, yeah.
He got older. He was ready to retire. So he sold it off, and he stopped, which I wished he hadn't gone from 1,000 miles an hour down to 0 miles an hour, because that was hard on him.
Yeah.
It really was. And I don't plan on doing that. I am going to slow down gradually.
Decelerate a little
exactly.
bit. Don't just slam on the brakes.
It's not good for you. Yeah. And I learned so much from him. So much. I wished I'd had him around longer to learn more. Yeah. But I really appreciated that. And so my husband and I, Dan, bought it from them in 91. And we moved on and had kids, raised kids on that. I mean, just me and him on a restaurant income. Whew, that's why you don't stop. You keep swimming hard. But we did it. And bingo.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of mentioned earlier, like, literally raising the kids in the restaurant and having them be there.
Yeah. Sometimes. Not always.
Not always, but what is that like? Like, how do you balance that? Because I mean, you're talking 80-hour weeks.
Well, back then I was only doing 60.
Oh, only 60. Well, you were a total slacker.
Yeah.
But my husband was working with me at that time before he became disabled, and so he would take half the shifts and I'd take the other half, and one of us was always with the kids. So the kids didn't always have both of us all the time, but they always had one of us. And so when Danny had football up at North Hyde, his dad was always there. Always. For
every
practice.
Everything.
He was always there. He did not miss a thing. And for the plays and things like that, I was there. And sometimes we were able to go together at the same time. Wasn't always easy. Danny was gladiator football, and Elizabeth was echo softball, fast pitch softball with the girls. And so we would travel, and that wasn't always easy.
Coordination.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd close the restaurant down, get on the road at 4 p.m, and end up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota that night doing head whips trying to get there for the tournaments. But, you do what you got to do.
When you married into the family, did you have any idea what you were getting into?
He told me he was rich. No. No, I didn't know. That's okay. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I found my niche. and I loved it, and I still love it. And I don't want to quit, but my body's telling me I have to. So
I love that you guys have so many pictures on the wall of the past. You very much embrace the past, and I think, like I found, I think it was a different clip than the one I referenced earlier, but one where you were going through all the different pictures and pointing out people and talking about, like you were telling me, here's where the original building was, and here's what they rebuilt and then had to build onto it. Like, how important do you think is it for customers to understand the history of that place and what exactly has occurred in this building over all these years?
They really love the stories. They love it. It's amazing. I feel like I tell it quite often. But there's something about history that they really love. I mean, we are the 4th oldest restaurant in Omaha. Do you know the other 3?
I could probably have some guesses, but it would be more...
Throw a few out.
No. just tell me. I'm not going to embarrass myself on my own show.
Horsey's is the oldest.
Horsey's. Really?
Yeah.
That would not have been my guess.
Horsey's, isn't that something?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Horsey's and Johnny's.
Johnny's Cafe is number 2.
Johnny's Cafe.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I think they're still in the family. I'm not 100% positive. I need to do better research on that one.
I have never been there. I want to try them out.
I've done Johnny's. I've never been Horsey's. I need to try Horsey's.
I've never been there either.
And then, not necessarily Omaha, but close enough, Stella's. They're number 3.
Yeah.
They're number 3.
That counts.
And we're number 4.
Dang, I didn't realize Stella's had been around that long either.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. It's amazing. Now, if King Fong's
journey.
was still open, they would be number 1. But they've been closed for, 6-7 years now, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been out for a little while.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jog you guys' memory. I mean,
boy.
We talk about, this history, all these memories that live inside those walls. When you think of and you can take this in whatever direction you want. It could be great times. It could be horrible times. It could be fun times.
You got all of them.
When you think of the first memories that pop to the front of your mind when you think of Nite Hawkes Café, what are those?
The October snowstorm, 97.
We spent the night down there, didn't we?
down there. Yeah.
Well, we lost all of our power at home for 8 days, and we were hopping from place to stay because that was right when I really, really hurt my back, and it was too cold to stay at home. So, we took blow-up beds. The restaurant still had power, so we took blow-up beds down there and stayed down there.
Yeah.
A couple of days. It was rough, but we did it.
Roughing it, but
that was your memory.
That was my memory, at least.
My memory is the table of Clarence and Chuck and Bob Gilbert and all of them sitting in that one corner, all telling their stories. And they got their football bets out, or not football, but horse racing. It was Exarban then. And they were just, everybody comparing all the horses all the time. And I remember Clarence telling me one time, he got a piece of paper and he started writing down all these numbers. He says, I come in here 3 times a day with Chuck, and we eat this, and we spend this much every day, and we've been doing this for 30 years, and I have spent this much money in your building. I'm going, wow. They do that.
Thanks, Clarence.
Yeah. We have 3 generations of customers, 3 generations of workers. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That was my first memories.
I mean, I know you're in the day-to-day. You're in the 60 to 80-hour work weeks. You guys are immersed in it. But do you ever get a sense, do you ever get a time to just kind of sit back and think about that? To have 3 generations of employees and 3 generations of regulars and people who are coming in 3 times a day.
Yeah.
That's really special.
I have always appreciated it. Always. Never took it for granted. I love them all, and it's been always dear to my heart. And maybe I never expected them to be there for me, but I have been always so appreciative of it. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of imprint it on as my life path. It's I'm trying to use this business, this building, to be a shining star on the hill for that neighborhood, because that neighborhood has gotten run down. And no offense to anybody in there, I love everybody in that neighborhood, but it has gotten run down. And if you can just be the shining example of, you don't have to live that kind of lifestyle.
Give everybody a boost up. That's where we are.
There is other ways of living your life. Come in, look.
Let's do it.
We'll build you back up. We'll bring you right into the family. You got to start as a dishwasher, but
some of them will do it and some of them won't. It's just
it is what it is.
We always root for them.
And then that's my ultimate goal. 10, 20, 30-year goal is to have 10 of those kind of businesses and bring those people in and say, oh, you'd be great here. You'd be great here. You'd be great here. You know, it's like that's what I want my job to be, is employee development instead of flipping burgers. You know, like I like flipping burgers. Don't get me wrong. I like cooking. I love providing people meals, but I want to build people up instead of actually, like, you know, serve you a biscuit and gravy. But
I like that too, but I love flipping eggs.
There's other people who love cooking, so I'll let them cook. You know, like I said, I'm kind of burnt out on this stuff. What my true passion is building people.
How do you build people?
Well, just like I said, man, it's
he
like
encourages them. Boy, the conversations in the kitchen. Wow.
Yeah.
What are we talking?
I don't know how to really describe it. Like, how what do you think? Like, it's more along the lines of
you engage their minds.
I try to.
Engage them.
I put self-development in the forefront. I show, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. What are you doing?
Sometimes we get into conspiracy theories and politics and stupid stuff, and it's like, okay, now we got to quit.
Okay. Again, that's family talk, though.
That's
the stuff the
the arguments. We got to stop that.
So, like, just for example, I guess, I hope doesn't care that I'm mentioning his name, but I got him to quit smoking weed, you know, at the beginning of the year, because I'm like, hey, I'm going to cut it back a little bit too, you know, like, I'm cutting it off here. I'm going to go for as long as I can for this month, and then I'm going to start it back up next month. What are you doing? And then he just like, well, I'm going to do it with you. So therefore, I'm not necessarily trying to build him up as a human being, but just try and show him different paths of, like, you don't have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. There are different ways of living your life. So and that's just one example of, I want to do that for all of my employees. And I want to have hundreds or maybe even thousands of them down the road.
That's incredible.
I mean, it's just pie in the sky kind of thing, but it's
nothing wrong with goals.
There's
nothing wrong with them.
Big hairy, was that the BHAGs, the big hairy ambitious goals, something like that. I learned that in college 10 years ago. You know, I'm smart.
That's what they teach you in college.
That's what the BHAGs. I mean, again, you got to just keep your your sails in that direction.
Are you sorry you went to college?
That's a whole rabbit hole.
Sorry.
We love rabbit holes.
He's the one asking questions. I'll back off.
No. You're better at this than I am. That's a great question.
I never did.
Look at the self-introspection we're getting here. This is beautiful.
Overall, college was a good experience. I mean, I enjoyed college because it showed me how to get my shit together. Can I cut
That's fine.
Here? Okay, sorry. And it helped me get my stuff together, but it didn't really teach me anything, if that makes sense. It was business has always been in my blood. I know how to do this stuff. You know, it's like I can do this stuff with my eyes closed. So really, what I got out of college was a very expensive piece of paper, but the experiences are okay. You know, it's like, okay, that's where I also learned to party, and I feel like I learned I left a few years of partying there too. So it's like. Overall, I learned, but I didn't feel like I got my money's worth out of college, basically. So
there's book smart and street smart.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
I think it takes a lot of street smart where we're at.
Yeah, I think you learn more by doing than you do actually studying.
I do.
I would agree. I learned
hands-on.
But I don't know. That's not really my expertise, you know.
Well, I find it interesting because I have a lot of chefs and restaurant owners on this podcast whose parents owned and operated a restaurant, usually a different restaurant, but sometimes the one that they work at now. But usually it goes one of two ways. Either they just love, like, they have such strong memories tied with cooking and with family and everything that they just always knew that was going to be their path. Or they see how hard it is and the hours that you put in and the thin margins and everything, and they go 180 degrees in the opposite direction.
Like
maybe not exactly like your daughter, but more along the path of your daughter, where it's like, that's not for me. I don't want to do that. And it sounds like you kind of...
I had that in my own life.
Yeah, you've kind of gone that way and come back.
No, I did full 360. Yeah.
What caused the 360, do you think? I mean, part of it was out of... You talked about it. Part of it was out of necessity. Part of it was just like, I don't know anyone in Austin.
Yeah.
But, like, you've gone from hey, I could just go back and do this because it's a job, to I want to grow this. I want to have, I want to grow people. I want to, create a community. I want to be the shining star on a hill in this area of town. What caused that flip in you?
Is that a little of me?
I don't know.
That's been my passion ever since I started down there. I don't know if I rubbed off on him or not.
I think you probably have.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
Sorry, hon.
It is what it is. That's a good question, man. I don't know. I think simple answer, I saw the IV on my driver's license and realized, well, that's a path forward. That's something I can leave behind. That's my legacy, I guess. They named me the fourth, so let's trailblaze down this path and do it my own way.
Let's embrace it.
Yeah, let's embrace it. Yeah, and like I said, I was looking for something. I didn't even know I was looking. I was just living my life, and then it's just like, well, I went out of Omaha and got out of Omaha, kind of shook the cobwebs out, and made me reassess my life and go, I love Adam to death, but my family's at home, and I went back home. So,
well, it didn't
Adam
help.
was my roommate, by the way.
It didn't help that Dad and I were failing, especially your father. And my husband passed away in May.
Yeah, my dad was in bad health for a while.
He was in bad health for a while, and me trying to take care of him and the cafe and the household
became too much.
It got pretty heavy, and so Danny stepped in right when I needed him. God works in mysterious ways.
Very mysterious. And not in ways that we'll even be able to understand on this earth, but there are times where it is kind of fun to see, once you have some time removed, how he's moving the chess pieces, how he's using people to empower other people and uplift them. What I've loved so much about this conversation is we're talking about a restaurant here.
Right.
And maybe 10% of our conversation has been food related. We spent a little time on burgers and biscuits and gravy. But
we got great food, guys. We got great food.
Yeah, I promise. The food is awesome too. But we've talked so much about culture and history and building people up. I think that's why we're talking 1942 to 2025. That's why you guys are still around and you're with the Stellas and the Orsies and the Johnnies, because it's not just about the food. Because if all a restaurant is food, I think that burns people out eventually.
Yeah.
It gets old.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're adding on all these different layers to it, that's when you can start to build a legacy and build something that lasts and build something where, it's hard as heck. And this is something that I should absolutely quit and not do anymore. But I want to keep doing it because this is just part of who I am now. Is there something to that?
It's baked in.
Exactly it right there.
Yeah.
You said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No pun intended. Baked in.
Man, you were just on fire today.
I'm
Just full of it, isn't he?
Full of something. Yeah.
All right, before we get out of here, I've got 2 questions that I like to ask about everybody who comes on the podcast. And I think you guys, I'm very interested to hear the answers that you give. First one is this. What is one thing about the restaurant industry that you feel diners don't understand that you wish they
patrons or customers?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
That you wish they did understand.
That every dime that goes into my register does not belong to me. It does not. In fact, I get very little of that. If you would see my food bill, my OPPD, MUD, when the building breaks down and I got to do repairs, no, you might see a wad of 20s in there, but no, that is not mine. And that's another thing. You manage your money right. You have to. Because if you think as an owner that all that money's yours, you're going to go under immediately. You got to pay your bills first. So that would be me. What about you?
People give McDonald's 20 chances, I'm like, what are you doing? Why you keep still going there? If we mess up one pancake, it's like, okay, how many times did McDonald's mess up? I'm not throwing McDonald's under the bus. I don't like talking bad about restaurants. But what I don't get is why corporate places get an infinite amount of retries while we get one bad review. All of a sudden, you're not coming around.
Doesn't it? One bad review.
All of a sudden, you're not coming around because you saw a 1 star because they're burger was burnt or something. I mean, it's like mistakes happen, guys. You know, that's what I want.
Yeah, I really wish they would come to me and talk to me. I'm a talkable person. I will talk to you. I will fix that. You trust me. Like, don't put it on for the whole world to see. Let me try and fix it first.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but it is what it is, I guess.
I'm really glad you guys said that because, I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've had in here that say the exact same thing.
Really?
Where it's like, when you come into my restaurant, I want you to have a good time.
Yes.
So even if you complain, even if you tell me something's wrong, even if you're wrong and you say this egg is cooked incorrectly and you're like, well, I've cooked an over easy egg 20,000 times in my life. I mean, that egg is cooked perfectly. You'll tell the customer, sure.
Let me try it again.
Let me try. let me see if I can do it better.
Yeah.
But if you... And then you can salvage that meal and still have a good experience.
Right.
If you don't say anything and then just go on Yelp or Facebook and put a restaurant on blast, that does nothing.
No.
That helps no one. That tears people down. That builds up walls.
Right. That bothers me.
Cannot emphasize that enough. If you have a problem at a restaurant,
say something.
Talk to someone, whether it's a server, whether
I'm there every day.
One
of us is. One of us is always there.
If you know the owner, talk to the owner. Talk to someone and
Facebook message us. You know, like we see those every day.
Immediately,
I
get it.
Don't
immediately.
flood our inbox, please. I don't know how many viewers you got. But like, yeah, but I mean, like, let us know. You know, like it's never going to get fixed if you don't tell us either. Yeah. So, I mean, we could do more, like put comment perfect. Cards out or something. But like,
we're not perfect. We will take care of it though. Yeah. Just say something, I'll fix it.
Like if it's egregious, like we're gonna feel worse than you are right now. You know, it's like, oh my god.
I can't believe I did that.
We put a bad product
sorry.
out. I apologize. You know.
Well done, and it's still red in the middle. I am so sorry. Give that back. I'll fix it.
Mistakes happen. You know. Like I guess be more forgiving is the better way of condensing that down. You know.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think that goes for any line of work. Any person can look at their own performance and know you're not perfect every day.
Yeah. Right.
And if somebody went online and said, well, geez, Dan totally screwed up the podcast today. Like, his research was awful. He knew nothing. Yeah. He, lost his train of thought during the podcast. It'd be awful.
No, you were spot on, by the way.
You were really good.
Thank you.
Impressive.
Yeah, but you could do that for any job.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen. There's no Yelp for, every industry. So, yeah, I think it's just being thoughtful, being kind, and just saying, you know what, if something's wrong, I know the restaurant will want to fix it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't want
to... We want you coming back. Like that's...
Exactly,
it's not like we don't want you to, eat and leave. It's come back, But, yeah.
We got to end the podcast on positivity.
Okay.
We need positive vibes.
Definitely.
So I'm going to ask you guys this question. You've probably given me the answer at some point during this episode, but I like to just wrap it up with a nice bow. What's your favorite part of being a part of the restaurant industry?
The people. Bingo, the people. I love...
Can't go wrong with that answer. The people.
Yeah.
People, for sure, whether it comes to employees or customers or even vendors. It extends to vendors, too. We love our bread man, Rotella's,
Farmer Brothers Coffee, Robbie.
Robbie's the best, yeah.
Hi, Robbie.
Yeah, shout out to Robbie, one of the Farmer Brothers. And, even Gordon from
Reinhardt, Performance.
Yeah, and
we've been with... God, we've
everybody.
been with
we like them all.
U.S. Food Service for so long. We remember them back when they were Alliant, and I still got paperwork from all that.
Yeah.
Oh, the paperwork and the old menus I have. Oh, my goodness sakes.
Yep.
The memorabilia, I got boxes of them. It's so much fun.
I have no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
I could talk to you guys for hours. I mean, just the history, the insights that we're getting.
We should write a book.
Let's do it. Well, I don't know why I'm saying let's. I would just read it. You guys write it because you have so much free time.
Yeah, right. We'll do it on one Monday a day or one Monday a week.
Unfortunately, we are up against the clock, but I'm so appreciative of you guys giving me your Monday. This is the day off, and you guys took it to come in and do a
Thank
podcast.
you for the invite. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate that
Yeah.
wonderful review you put on there for us.
Yeah.
I read them all, and I thank you so much.
Well, here's more wonderful reviews. People, there's a good chance if you're watching this, you know about Nite Hawkes. Maybe you're one of those regulars who's given Tracy $20,000 over the years or whatever it is. Or maybe you're somebody like me who has heard about it but just not been in. First of all, like Dan said, They do serve great food. We didn't spend a ton of time talking about it, but I mean, even from one meal, I can just tell when you do the simple things really well, that's a restaurant that I want to go back to time and time again. And that's what I felt at Nite Hawkes. But also I felt that sense of community and just that people are laughing together. People are pulling tables together. The servers are talking to
sometimes we have customers bussing tables sometimes.
We do. I forgot about that.
I mean, stuff like that. Like this is a place you want to visit at least once. So go check it out. Guys, again, thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I can shake hands. All right. Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.
Thanks.
Thank you.